Would limiting the age of the president to 65 be something you'd support? Why or why not? Any way you cut it, a shitty system will produce shitty politicians. Ranked choice voting, in my opinion, is the law that would best reform our political entire system. Congress can set its own salary, its own hours, and their length of term. No wonder their performance is terrible. They work practically half the year when they should really work like the rest of us. They should get 2 terms max. Being in charge of your own salary should be obviously a bad idea. And how about a max age for Congress, since they clearly can't take the hint? They should not be able to purchase stock. And these campaign text messages and direct mailers should be made illegal. If I could be king for a day. Definitely agree. The fact that there are career politicians shows there's something wrong with the system. I think any political position needs term limits. And to further things, if a senator or congressman decides they want to run for president, they should be forced to vacate their current position whether they win or lose. Yeah, there's got to be some sort of compromise on running for office while in office. It's a disservice to your voters you already have when you spend all your time trying to leave. There are some senior politicians who are substantially older than 65 who are incredibly sharp and seriously paying attention to the concerns of their constituents. There are politicians and justices under 65 who are completely out of touch and prioritizing their own interests. So I don't think capping age will make any kind of meaningful change. The bigger issues are that the current 2-party system, electoral college, gerrymander districts, and constraints on voting rights in black and low-income communities have resulted in politicians who are not elected by the population majority. On top of people in office who don't represent the majority, the 2-party system lowers the quality of the available candidates, which in turn lowers voter turnout because neither option are particularly appealing. I think something like France has, where all politicians are in the same primary and then the top 2 are elected, would result in better presidential options. You could then potentially have a libertarian candidate running against a Democratic candidate with a viable chance of winning, or a no-party candidate running against a Republican, or any number of combinations. The mayors in my city don't affiliate with any party, and honestly, it's refreshing. It's like having someone competent in charge without any political drama. Why stop at the presidency? How about for all elected officials? More importantly, the unelected officials. I loved RBG, but 80s and 90s is too ducking old to be on the Supreme Court. In Ireland, Supreme Court judges have to retire at the age of 70. I think the US should implement a ranked choice voting system. I think that will have a much bigger impact on our political system. This concept is carrying more and more weight with me lately. My beef with presidential elections is that by the time I get any say, Pennsylvania, all I get to do is pick which is the lesser of 2 evils, a binary decision laid in front of me. I really want to see the panic on politicians' faces after the first major election with ranked choice. The Republicans and the Democrats would almost certainly still win, but I feel like finding out that both parties are more people's second pick than first would terrify them. The president sets the precedent. 65 is when it's time for people to retire. Sit down, make room, live out your days in peace. Set that tone for the American people. Agreed. If the average American is expected to retire around 65, why not the president? It isn't that people are expected to retire around 65, rather, it's that people are expected not to retire until around 65, 67 now, if we're talking about Social Security. Yes, absolutely. Both Joe Biden and Donald Trump are way too old to be president. So was Reagan when he ran 40+ years ago. Hell, I'd even go further and cap the ages for all elected officials at 65. At 69 years 348 days old, Reagan was the oldest president ever elected when he won. Trump broke that by almost a year when he was elected at 70 years 220 days old. Then Biden obliterated that when he was elected at 78 years 61 days old. We're trending in the wrong direction with this. Yeah. Even arguments about mental fitness aside, I think we should limit to candidates who would at least be reasonably expected to spend a couple decades in whatever world they create. Edit, by the Teats of Thor. This was apparently the most upvoted comment on June 9 of 2022. Reddit sent me a little badge over it. I like your reasoning. You are absolutely right. People who are in their 70s now were just starting adulthood in the 1970s, they will be having very limited knowledge about the issues faced by today's generation. Case in point, Finland. Their current PM, Sanna Marin, is just 36, and is very popular among the Finns. She is looking to cut the workweek to 4 days, 6 hours each. Meanwhile, America is having to choose between two boomers who are well into retirement every election. I wouldn't mind boomers that have both feet planted in everyday life. But these are independently wealthy boomers who haven't had to worry about a thing for a very long time, if ever. All politicians should fuck off the second they hit retirement age. Those who would hit it during their term shouldn't be allowed to run for office. Isn't the retirement age 72 now? I feel like I saw that somewhere. Ninja edit, it's 67. It'll probably be like 80 by the time I retire. 72 is related to when you are required begin taking minimum distributions from retirement accounts. I don't see how we could determine that 65 is the magic number for such a cutoff. People age at different rates. There are folks with dementia in their 40s and some 90 years olds are still sharp as a needle. The better question to discuss is how to fix the way the executive is chosen. Is there a way to do this that would tend to yield better executives and stop putting partisan hacks in office? Thank you. I get the concerns about too long careers, health issues, and not keeping up with the times, but making a sweeping cutoff just sounds like an old people suck and need to just retire and get out of the way attitude, which I don't like. It needs to be a case-by-case thing.